Good day. When uh, Mayor Eric Adams took office a short while after uh, New York State Governor Kathy Hochul met with him to do a press conference and lay out their plan for cybersecurity. This is important. You know, the way our world is working, everything um, pretty much works with some type of internet technology, many entities, government, private, rely on our cyber world, our finances, education department, health department, emergency. So to hear what their plan is um, in regards to protecting our cyber world, increasing our cybersecurity is something that's very important. So we're going to hear from New York State Governor Kathy Hochul and New York City Mayor Eric Adams on their plan for this protection.
Please be seated. Good afternoon, everyone. It is great to be together once again with the dream team of my partners in government. First of all, we have our great mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, who's joining us. You'll be hearing from him shortly. Mayor Spano from Yonkers has made the trip down, but not as far as our mayor from Albany, who journeyed down, Kathy Sheehan. Also, Ben Walsh, our mayor from Syracuse, will be joining us remotely. And we've also been in contact with Mayor of Rochester and our mayor of Buffalo, Byron Brown, who has a family matter to deal with, but otherwise he is on board with us. And the reason we're here today, since I've been governor, literally 6 months this week, my number one priority has been protecting New Yorkers. First of all, our priority has been protecting their health. And you've seen how we've unveiled a very thoughtful strategy to deal with COVID, the health of our individuals. Also protecting the health of our economy, making sure that we do smart initiatives, masking, vaccinations, but ultimately keeping our economy going. But also I want to protect the health of our institutions and our governments and our critical infrastructure. And they're vulnerable right now. And I know this because I served as a member of the Homeland Security Committee, as a member of Congress. I served as a member of the Armed Services Committee, and I was very much aware of the cyber threats that surrounded us even a decade ago, and even more so now. We truly live in a digital world. You think about all your transactions, how you access money, how you pay your bills, how you make purchases and medical records, even our power grids, NIPA, our transportation systems, the MTA. They are all vulnerable to cyber attack if we don't take precautionary measures. And given the increasingly volatile geopolitical circumstances with Russia and Ukraine, and we just heard from President Biden moments ago on the advancing troops from Russia, we can no longer act independently. And that has been the case where the state of New York has its plan, city of New York has a plan, our mayors, our local governments throughout the state of New York. And that is not sustainable in light of the threats that we're seeing. And we can't expect cities and counties to go it alone. They don't have the resources. They don't have the technological know-how. And we're rethinking our entire approach to cybersecurity, really based on the model that was put together after 9/11, when we had to fight and talk about how we can bring people together for our physical security. And that was the genesis of the Joint Terrorism Task Force. Well, similarly, we're not talking about physical security, we're talking about cybersecurity and how we can take a different approach to making sure we have partnerships that'll bring our resources together. And in light of what's been going on, I've been in regular contact with the White House. We've had calls. I've been speaking directly to the Secretary of Homeland Security, Secretary Mayorkas. Over the weekend, I thought it was serious enough that I convened members of my cabinet on Sunday, asking all of them to come together and tell me what steps they've been taken and where there may be any shortcomings in our statewide operations, as well as our critical infrastructure, as I mentioned, the power authority, our utility grids, our transportation networks, our water. So I wanted to assess our ongoing cybersecurity efforts and to really assure New Yorkers that our systems are protected. And also, we realize it's about coordinating with different sectors, private sector, what steps they can be taking, even small businesses. So this is a multifaceted approach to make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to prepare and then, when necessary, react to any attacks. So today, I'm very proud to announce the first in the nation statewide Joint Security Operations Center. That is where we are today. And this is going to be the nerve center for our cyber operations. We bring all the talent together, the resources, the data sharing that has been going on in silos for far too long. And it's so important. We realize now that when you see even a small attack in one system, that could be an indicator of more to come. And how we respond to that will prepare us for the larger attacks. So by collaborating and sharing literally one space, and we just saw there's going to be 117 desktops where people can work together in collaboration with the city of New York here and our other partners. We're going to be able to enhance our ability to respond to any attacks as well as prevent them. We realize that we're only as strong as our weakest link, and the synergy between even our local governments, our cities and our counties, they're connected to our state operations. So an attack on them could lead to a larger attack and disruption of service from the state as well. So again, breaking down the silos, the data sharing that has not gone on, and bringing it together under one place, we can strengthen our defenses exponentially. And we all know that cyber criminals are relentless. They are motivated, whether they're state actors, whether they're rogue individuals. They are trying to disrupt our operations. Their intent is truly malicious. And that's why we want to take serious steps here today to disrupt. They're trying to disrupt our systems and sometimes even extort us for money. And we've seen that with hospitals and schools and universities in our own state. And in fact, it right now even costs us $5 to $10 billion a year annually. And just in the last year, 2020 to 21, we've had actually 85 serious attacks. And this is even
85
before we're
serious
dealing with
attacks.
the geopolitical situation that I referenced earlier. So we know cyber attacks will continue to happen. And in the long term, this Joint Security Operations Center, which we call JSOC, you always have to have an acronym if you're talking about anything in law enforcement, JSOC, this will be the tip of the spear for our cybersecurity operations in the state. And here we are at 11 Metro Tech. And again, this will allow us to have a statewide view and operations sharing. They'll be doing tabletop exercises. They'll be working closely together. And I have to tell you, this is absolutely unprecedented. I anticipate that this will be a model for other states. Other areas should be dealing with the same sense of urgency that we come to this. But we know New York State, New York City, we are always going to be in the line of sight of the terrorists and those who want to disrupt our way of life. And knowing that we are the epicenter of financial institutions and our operations, our large infrastructure and our transportation systems, the MTA, the Port Authority. So that is why we've been working so closely with them. And I want to thank Mayor Adams and Chief Technology Officer Matt Frazier for their partnership. We just had a tour of the facility. It is state of the art. This, again, is an incredible model of what collaboration and partner looks like, as well as I mentioned, Albany Mayor Sheehan and Mayor Spano, who traveled here together today. So this is what collaboration looks like physically here, but also we have to put money behind this. And I realized as governor, and I started asking questions about what we've done, where our investments have been, they have been lacking. And I'm proud that my administration is proposing an historic $62 million investment in cybersecurity, more than double what has been spent in previous years, and making sure that we have resources. But what about our local governments? I'm a former local government official, 14 years in local government. If someone told us that my town had to prepare for cyber attacks, it would have been, I don't have the resources. I don't have the money to be able to put toward that. So understanding that, at the most organic level, because I've been there.
And these cyber attacks could really disrupt a county, a town, and those towns who don't, like she said, don't have the money to put forth. And also, she's hiring, you know, new talent that is really studying cyber and the digital world, as she said.
I want to let the localities know that we're on their side, that we're going to help them. And that's why I'm putting together a plan for $30 million to help our localities buy this at a subsidized price and get the technological know-how that they need to defend themselves. As I ask more questions of my team, do we have enough people in place right now? Where are we getting the smartest, the best professionals in the industry who can help us deal with this challenge? And so we're also going to be increasing the number of cybersecurity professionals that we have in the state's workforce. Right now, I'm looking to hire 70. Anybody knows somebody who wants to get a job? I need 70 highly trained individuals, and this will help us shore up our defenses, identify our weaknesses, and protect from any vulnerabilities. So we're going to be aggressive about identifying cybersecurity individuals who are early in their careers through our Excelsior Fellows program. Also, mid-year technologists who have specialties in this, offering them 18-month deployments to become embedded with these operations right here, an incredible experience for them, and we'll take from their experience as well. And so I say our SUNY and CUNY systems are also primed to be training the next generation of professionals, making sure that in addition to what we have in Albany, and Mayor Sheehan and I have been here.
Yeah, so they're having more and more classes are being developed around cybersecurity so people can get degrees in them and go into that field.
The College of Emergency Preparedness and Homeland Security at the University of Albany, first of its kind in the nation. We need to replicate this so it's available. This training is available, cybersecurity degrees all over the state of New York. So these are our ways that we're going to be attracting more people, getting more talent here, and using the very best and the brightest that we can to address this threat. And lastly, this is also an individual challenge. And I'm afraid that many members of the public become desensitized when they say, well, you need to make sure that you have strong passwords and multi-factor authentication, which people are not even quite sure what that means. You need to protect yourself and change your passwords. Be prepared. Act as if you know that attack is coming, because if it comes and you're not ready, it can be devastating. Your access to your money, your ability.
And you see what she's saying? Act as if you know it is coming. She said 85 serious attacks that she recalled, and you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared. This can really, getting access to your database, that can be major, and preparing for it.
To make purchases. You do not want to be there at a place where you would say to yourself, I wish I had taken steps earlier. This is the warning. This is the warning in light of what's happening globally. This is what is happening throughout a normal course of our years, as we've seen with these attacks we've experienced over the last decade. And so now is the time for New Yorkers to be prepared. And those of us with older parents or grandparents, tell them not to open up an email if they do not know it's not pictures from their grandchildren. Don't open it up, because there really is a lot of phishing going on, a lot of opportunities for people to really take your personal information and use it in nefarious ways. And so we want
to. And that's hard in business world, because you can get emails, from people who are looking to do business, who have questions, and to know that, you have to be careful with the personal or business opening emails. That's important. She's basically telling us and warning us to be careful. This is important information.
To make sure that our older loved ones hear this warning, understand what they need to do or not do in a circumstance that we're describing here as well. So I'll close by saying the threat of cyber attacks is very real, particularly now. That is the warning we're receiving out of Washington, particularly for a place like New York. And therefore, our state and our cities will be taking a leading role in fortifying our defenses in the battlefield against cyber warfare. And we will be as relentless in our defense as the criminals are in their aggression. Mark my words, we will thwart them at every step of the way. And this is proof of what we're doing here today. Again, first in the nation. And I do hope that other states and other governors will follow the lead of what we're doing here today. So with that, I want to thank everyone for coming and invite Mayor Adams to address all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Governor. And for this issue, this is a real issue. The conversation may not be attractive, but the reality is ugly. I'll never forget sitting down in Gracie Mansion, speaking with the former mayor, talking about the pandemic and other issues that were facing the city. And he was clear. He says, Eric, your real crisis is going to be cybersecurity.
Your real crisis is cybersecurity? I mean, that's major. That's major. He's talking to him about COVID, and he's warning the incoming mayor that we could have real issues without cybersecurity.
And if we don't get a handle on cybersecurity, what COVID did to our bodies, cybersecurity is going to disrupt the anatomy of our city and
Wow.
our state. And it's imperative that we take a forward-thinking view of this. And for the governor to understand how imperative it is for us to unite and join my other mayors throughout the state, both Mayor Spano, who I've known his family for a long time, and Mayor Sheehan, for coming here today and stated that we are not united against this force. I also want to thank Commissioner Bray, who you'll hear from as well, for understanding how important this moment is for all of us. We are so connected to technology that it could disrupt our way of life. And we're talking about a continuous onslaught of those who are attempting to do so. When I was the chair of Homeland Security as state senator, I was amazed and alarmed to see the number of outside attempts to hack our systems.
Wow.
Not only for financial means, but also just for total disruption. The real concern here is that often when you can't see something, you do not appreciate the danger of something. We don't see what is happening every day, and that is what this command center and joint operation is going to participate. One of the most important hires that I had to do was bringing on Matt to coordinate this entire effort, and it's one of the beginning programs that we're going to institute as we reach out to our business partners as well. Today, one of my first executive orders that I signed was about getting our technology entities all coming together, sharing information, combining what we're doing, and it's going to be under the leadership of our CTO, Matt Frazier. He has been instrumental in bringing this initiative together with the governor's office, as well as what we're doing with our private corporation. Technology, if we like it or not, is at the heart of everything we do. Running water, electricity. Every day we start our day picking up our phones. We do our banking online. We communicate with our loved ones, our children. We run our city on technology. When you hack that technology, you are hacking our entire city. And it's not only limited to the fearfulness of what's happening in the Ukraine, but it's also here in the United States. And we must be vigilant and meet the threat with our action. And we're doing that now to protect our crucial infrastructure, because we know if we fail, we are going to make New Yorkers vulnerable to the actions that comes with it. And this is not hypothetical. This is not something we're just talking about that's distance removed. These attacks and attempted attacks are happening every day. It's just that we have put in place the right infrastructure to constantly fortify how we approach this. Just look towards Atlanta and Newark and see what happened with them and how those outside entities are attempting to hold cities and municipalities hostage.
Wow.
We don't have to go that far. Right here in the law department was under attack in June. The constant attempt to go after our way of life. And we learned so much from COVID that invisible threats does not mean the threat is not there, and the entire city must be prepared. And it's imperative that if we get it right, we can prevent the loss of time, the loss of billions of dollars, and the loss of our livelihood, in some cases, the loss of lives. And that is what our cybersecurity system need. We need a reboot. And today we are announcing that reboot with the help of the governor, not only doing it with coordination, but Governor, you're doing it with the financial assistance that we need to make sure we have a first-rate cybersecurity system. And so I'm proud to be here with the governor during this historic moment. We know it, and we have to continue to acknowledge it. We're all interconnected, and if we don't do so, we will fail. We are connected to Buffalo. We're connected to Syracuse, Rochester, Albany, Yonkers. We're in this together. A cyber attack that impacts one of their municipalities can impact ours. And it impacts our critical infrastructure in a real way. And that is why we are taking a forward-thinking look. This Joint Security Operations Center is building on the amazing work that we have done already. I commend what the New York City Police Department has done under the previous administration, and this is a continuation of that. The NYC Cyber Command organization is already a national model, and we're not going to hold this just in our state. We're going to share this information and the methodologies we use with any municipality that want to learn. We're asking other leaders to come here to New York and see what we're doing here, because this is a national problem that we are facing. This center will create a centralized data system and better collaboration. It will also offer unprecedented visibility into potential threats, elevated trends, and otherwise areas that might have gone undetected. We're also going to find the cybersecurity experts of the future, as the governor acknowledged. The threat is not going away. It's going to continue to grow. And so we must build out the pipeline to have young people participate in stopping, thwarting, or preventing.
And there's a lot of young people who are really into cybersecurity. I host interns during the summer, and I had about last session. I had about 3 young people who wanted to get into cybersecurity. Some of them play video games, and they just saw this as a career that kind of aligned with the technology. But it's an industry that more and more young people are interested in.
Some of the threats. Right here, we created a dedicated pipeline partner with CUNY and other New York City schools. The chancellor understands how important this is, and we're going to make sure we get our young people prepared for the future. And so the governor has continuously stated what I agree. We need to break down the silos. Government must collaborate together to deal with these important issues. We must streamline our government and bring every agency up to standard of excellence that we need to fight this threat. So today, earlier, I signed Operation Order 10, which places New York City Command Center under the direction of the Office of Technology and Innovation, and requires each agency to designate a cyber command liaison who will work with the Office of Cyber Command. Everyone must do their job in every agency. This is a threat that touches all New Yorkers. Every agency, everyone that participates in this city must be protected. So again, Governor, I thank you for what you are doing today in this collaboration. Your continuing support of the cities throughout this state is leading from the front, and we want to continue to be a partner with you as we protect New Yorkers from cybersecurity to security, from crime, and any other threat to everyday New Yorkers. Again, thank you very much.
Mayor from Yonkers, wonderful Yonkers. We've been there many times. And Mike Spano to talk about his reflections.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and certainly to Mayor Eric Adams, is you're showing why the people of New York voted for you, and certainly going to be a great mayor. So it's good to be here down in New York. I want to give a special, obviously, thank you to our great governor, Governor Hochul, for your continued support for the critical investments that you're making in the cities, because We are on the front lines. It is by no accident that the mayors are all here with the governor, showing that there is that commitment for those of us who are doing these battles all across the board. And I know I speak for all of us when I say thank you. Every one of us feels the imminent threats of any breach in cybersecurity. Cybersecurity has been probably one of the most major issues that any one of New York's big cities has had to deal with. Nearly 6 months ago, Yonkers was hit with a vicious ransomware attack, risking sensitive information within our municipal operations. And thanks to the work of our IT department, none of our information, including police, fire, personnel, or other sensitive information, was compromised this time. However, with the Governor's Joint Security Operations Center, Yonkers will have some of the most brilliant minds and resources that will be at our fingertips within our own IT departments. This is a very, very, very proactive approach, and I commend our governor because this center will prove to be an incredible resource, serving as a hub for collaborative information, and let's not forget shared coordination between all of our cybersecurity teams. Working together, we will have the equipment, and we will be equipped to be able to handle the threats, at least to the best of our ability, by those who look to threaten our communities. So with that, again, this was huge for us.
He said the best of our ability, because this is no joke when you're talking about hacking or taking over someone's cyber system, the government cyber system, a business's cyber system.
This is something that we have been talking about and hoping for the leadership of Governor Hochul, and we're seeing it here. And that's going to help, especially mid-sized cities like ours. So again, Governor, thank you as always. And I'd like to introduce, obviously, the mayor of our capital city, Kathy Sheehan, who came down. I almost said Kathy Hochul.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much. And the timeliness of this just could not be better. And I want to thank the governor. I want to thank Commissioner Bray for their leadership. The city of Albany in 2019 was also attacked. And
Wow.
that ransomware attack, again, we were able to protect our systems and to be able to rebuild and come out of that very strongly. But it is an incredible challenge because these attacks happen every single day. I get a report from the head of our CIO, and that report shows me how many times a day, and it's dozens and sometimes hundreds of times a day, that
Wow.
we are attacked, of people trying to find vulnerabilities in our systems. And we as cities just can't do this ourselves. Municipalities don't have the bandwidth. And so having this Joint Security Operations Center is a game changer for all of us. The state was there alongside us when we had our cyber attack. We know the talents, we know the bench strength, we know that they have the capability. And when you join those forces with Homeland Security, with FBI, and with all of the other resources out there, we can create that protection that we need in order to run our cities. We're so dependent on technology. And that dependence really, I think, was demonstrated even more so during this pandemic because we relied on it to run businesses and to run government. And so thank you, Governor, for your leadership on this. We look forward to working with all of the cities, sharing information, sharing resource, and again, recruiting those great minds out there that are going to help us to make sure that we keep ourselves and our cities safe. So thank you so much.
And now we'll hear, now speaking of technology, we have the technological capability to hear from Syracuse, our Mayor Ben Walsh. Mayor Walsh.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you to my fellow mayors, Mayor Adams, Mayor Spano, Mayor Sheehan. As you've heard from everyone, there is no greater threat to the day-to-day operations of city and state government than cybersecurity. And Governor Hochul, when you asked us what we needed, it was two things: more coordination and more resources. And what you're announcing here today addresses both of those needs, and it couldn't come sooner. As a matter of fact, just today, I received a message from a fellow mayor in the state notifying me of a phishing scam that they were dealing with that they thought might be related to the city of Syracuse. And that's exactly what this system is set up to do, to formalize that communication network and expand it and scale it throughout the state. So again, it couldn't come at a better time, a more urgent time. And I'm so grateful, Governor, for your leadership, for the partnership of my fellow mayors, and very much look forward to working with all of you to protect the cybersecurity of our cities and of our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Walsh. I do also want to recognize, I was talking about the mayors, but also the incredible team of commissioners and professionals and leaders of institutions like Commissioner Jackie Bray, who has just done an extraordinary job. We've relied on her for everything from cybersecurity to ice storms in Ulster County, where we lost power a short time ago. So she is tremendously hands-on, and I want to thank her for her leadership, as well as the other partners. I mean, this is an extraordinary operation here. You mentioned Matt Frazier, the Chief Technology Officer. Matt, you gave us a tour earlier, and we really look forward to working closely with you. Jana Lieber, our CEO of the MTA, is here because we know the vulnerability of our lifeblood of New York City and the whole region is our transportation network through the MTA. Rick Cotton, again, critically important infrastructures, our ports and airports and our systems with the Port Authority. Kevin Bruin, our superintendent of New York State Police, and Tony Riddick, the chief IT officer for New York ITS, as well as our partners. As I mentioned, the FBI has been here with us, and Washington is very much embedded and interested in what we're doing here, and have been in regular communication with us as the situation before us unfolds. With that, I'll be happy to take any questions on topic first.
Governor, you obviously planned this before what happened in Ukraine. Talk about the significance of opening this center on this day, given what's happening half a world away.
You know, certainly it was an important call I had with the White House and others on Friday that, reminded us of the vulnerabilities of what's hacking across the world and the impact that it could have right here in our city, a city that has been known to terrorists, a place where that they know that they're attacking a way of life, the American way of life, if you attack New York City and New York State. And that's why we took that message very seriously. It was a call with other governors, but I immediately said, okay, team, we've been talking about this for a while. How do we get this up and running immediately to be able to deal with any attacks that come now or later? And again, they're not always directed to international terrorists. We have our own homegrown people who want to be disruptors, and we have people that are doing it for financial gain. So there are many threats out there, but to have Washington on our side, FBI, I've been working closely with them, as well as our local partners and our state partners. This is the time to do this, because if not now, when? We have to be aware of the threats around us. Again, putting money behind it. My budget will be dealt with in the next couple weeks. We get that money there. We hire people. We let the world know that the best and brightest technologists and cybersecurity experts are gathered right here in New York to protect New Yorkers, because we take their safety so seriously.
Talk about collaboration. What exactly does that mean? What's going to happen? And is any of that happening now?
Commissioner Bray, you want to explain what's going on right now? Because, we talk about identifying threats. And, I want to make sure one thing is known. Every community can be under siege, but they don't necessarily share that with other communities. That's been a tremendous gap right now. And that there's not a sense of one team here. And that's the philosophy I brought to government, that we are all part of one team. I need to know what's happening in Syracuse and Rochester and Buffalo, New York City, and it will tell you if there's anything happening with our systems, as well as the Port Authority, MTA, and NYPA, our Power Authority. So that information has not been shared at the level that we believe it will be when people are literally sitting in the same room together. They're assessing the threats in real time. And there's no more, oh, I forgot to tell that entity, or that slipped away. They're sitting together, tabletopping it, analyzing it, preparedness, but also not just preventing threats, but reacting quickly when they occur, giving advice to localities. They don't always know what to do. Do you pay the ransom? Do you not pay the ransom? We can't expect them to have the expertise that true experts and law enforcement professionals have amassed over years of experience. But Commissioner Brady, have anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Governor, and thanks to all the mayors for the partnership. The governor's absolutely right. What's happening now is that if any entity that is attacked is responding, New York City has an incredibly robust and mature response. And then the responses at our localities and our counties and our authorities run the gamut. From that incredibly mature, robust response to one that needs some help. So what we're doing here today is two things. One, putting everyone in the room will let us help everyone respond immediately. It will also allow us to share real-time information. If Albany's got a vulnerability that is exposed, we want to know that immediately so that we can fix that vulnerability, patch that vulnerability in everyone else's systems. That's not happening today, and it will be happening as we ramp up this JSOC. And then the second thing we want to do is we want to level up everyone's preparedness so that everyone has the appropriate type of endpoint protection, the appropriate type of incursion detection, which with the governor's budget is a first major step in doing that.
May we have clear examples of how big a threat this could be? What could happen?
Oh, wow, that was a question.
Understand how vulnerable we actually are.
Now, before she answers, I don't know what the governor is going to say, but a lot of times, those who make the threats, they're not always that smart. Sometimes they get the answer from the media. They get it because it was said. So I know I'm going to watch certain things, so I don't seem like I'm giving an idea. But for 85, and each one of them, each county is saying that they are having regular cyber attacks, and many of them are asking for ransoms in order to get access back to these accounts. Oh.
Someone from law enforcement want to talk about our vulnerability, other than the fact that the White House thought it was important enough to let governors know to be prepared. The criminals, the terrorists, they don't telegraph what they're going to do because they want the element of surprise.
Right.
But we're on notice now. We're on notice of what they could do to dismantle our systems, our communication systems, our 911 systems.
Wow.
Our
So, as the governor is saying, they're giving people warning, giving governors warning of what the threats are. So it's not so much giving them ideas; these threats are already there. But something as crucial as our 911 system, if that was disrupted, whoa. God forbid that would be people could lose their lives if the whole system was taken over.
the transportation network. I mean, they all run on technology, and you disrupt that technology, that connectivity.
Right.
There is an opportunity for rather cataclysmic consequences. But Commissioner Bray or anyone else from law enforcement want to address that?
I think the important thing for New Yorkers to know is that we have very good cyber tools right now. We have best in class cyber tools right now. As all of the mayors have said, we see hundreds, thousands of attempted attacks a day.
Wow.
And the vast majority of those are neutralized before they can do any damage. But that's ramping up, that's increasing. And it's important that we take this next step. It's important that we level up all of our systems and all of our response. But New Yorkers need to know that we are prepared, and that anytime anything does happen, we are also now under Governor Hochul's leadership coming together to respond.
Governor, we're hearing a lot about city and state partnership. How will this go with private business? How do you make sure private businesses won't see this as a PR nightmare and hide it and share it like they need to?
They have all been connected. In fact, one of the cabinet members who I assembled on Sunday afternoon was our superintendent of financial services. We regulate and oversee the epicenter of the financial universe. So, but those institutions have been preparing. This is not a new threat to them. They have been vulnerable since cyber threats were first identified years ago. So we're in regular communication with them, letting them know the threat assessments we're receiving out of Washington and the FBI, but they are also very well prepared. I want to say, I feel, and also retail. Retail, you think about the major retail stores, they have been hacked before. They've put redundant and resilient systems and backup systems in place to make sure they can address that. But is there anything else to add to that, Commissioner?
So they're prepared, but that doesn't necessarily answer his question as if they would necessarily. I mean, I'm sure they would probably tell what she's saying is because they are regulated, they would have to notify the agency to let them know they've been attacked. But that doesn't mean that they would necessarily tell the public unless they have to, because as the reporter was asking, it could be a PR nightmare if you are with a particular financial institution and you hear that they've been hacked and social security numbers and everything were compromised. So, but as according to what the governor says, they've been prepared and they're always preparing.
Just that there are robust federal and state regulations about how the private sector, both the minimum standards they have to meet and how they have to report. And we're confident that in New York, people are following those regulations.
Governor Hochul, for you and the mayor, New York City Mayor Adams, that is, what is the state and the city doing to better enforce the existing cybersecurity requirements? For example, in New York City, the hack of the New York City Law Department happened because dual factor authentication was not implemented, and therefore that facilitated the hack. So what is the city and the state doing to ensure that the current requirements are being met?
Well, I'll let the mayor answer for himself, but what we're doing is we are constantly analyzing what is going on within our own departments, raising the questions, having analysis by our IT department and our own internal cybersecurity experts, and they're accountable to me. And they know that it's a new day of surveillance in a sense, that I want to know what's going on. I'm very hands-on, and I've worked in technology in a past life, and I understand, what's involved here. And so I'm asking them to report. That's why I had this meeting on Sunday. Report to me. Tell me what's happening in your jurisdiction. Our NIPA was represented, Port Authority was represented. MTAs represented, as well as all of our agencies that regulate the various industries. So we're just continuing to press them to do testing, make sure there's backups in place, and to make sure that they're downloading the best software protection that they can, and making sure that we're always getting ahead of the game. So that's what we're doing at the state level. Is there anything else that I missed?
Your budget, the governor's budget invests tens of millions of dollars to increase state preparedness of our own systems. So in addition to the $30 million invested to support counties and localities and other critical infrastructure partners, we're investing in our own systems to make sure that they are up to not only standards, but beyond and best in class.
And your question is a good question because, you could have the best rules that's possible and the best safeguards, but if it's not being carried out, then we're failing. And when you look at agencies in particular, there's a history to focus on their primary responsibility. Department of Education, they want to educate children. Department of Homeless Services, they want to provide services for those who are homeless. FDNY wants to provide putting out fires, and same with police. What we are doing, what the governor is sharing with us, is that in each agency, there must be a person that's a liaison to this center. And in addition to the primary goals of that particular agency, they must focus on cybersecurity. And that is the difference of what we have witnessed historically. If you were to call up one of the agencies in the city and ask who is keeping watch on the protocols, the practices, and the safeguards, right now that does not exist for the most part outside the New York City Police Department. We're going to duplicate that in every agency. We're going to make sure that they speak with the chief technology officer. We're going to make sure that they interface here. And we're now putting this as a responsibility that someone must be watching the store inside each agency. And that is a different approach. We cannot take this lightly. As I stated, former mayor was very clear. He says, Eric, the crisis you are going to face is cybersecurity. And this was in the midst of COVID. This was in the midst of crime. This was in the midst of housing. He was very specific and clear. We must get cybersecurity security under control. And that is what this governor is doing today.
Governor, has there been an increase in the number of attacks over the last 2 months, specifically from Russia-backed groups against the city and the state? And are you particularly concerned, has DHS told you anything about vulnerabilities when it comes to our pipelines, given that the world is now bracing for potential real issues with fuel consumption? And I'm also thinking about the Colonial Pipeline.
No, the Colonial Pipeline is very much front and center in our minds, and the impact that it had not just on the pipeline, but also consumer behavior afterward, and how paralyzing that was. I mean, I think that's a very good example when you ask, like, what can this mean? That's one pipeline, and what it did to the ripple effect that it had is something that, you know, again, that was a warning sign that these are institutions that have to be protected. So we're continuing to, you know, identify areas where there's vulnerabilities and getting ahead. And you may think that you have best-in-class spyware software to protect, and all of a sudden it's obsolete because they've hacked this, they found a way to the back door to get to this. So you always have to be vigilant, bring in smart people who are ahead of the game. And in terms of whether or not there's been an increase in attacks, I've not been made aware of a specific increase in those areas. I don't know if our state police has anything else to add on that. Okay, and state FBI. We don't have an increase, but the situation is becoming more volatile. The U.S. just literally in the last hours instituted sanctions. Sometimes for every action, there's a reaction. Shame on us if we're not anticipating and watching what's happening across the globe and the possible impact in any city, of course, but New York City, New York State. We've been down this path before. Again, we had to protect our physical security after 9/11. Now we have to protect our cyber systems and all of our infrastructure because of the dependence that the mayor mentioned, you know, the incredible dependence that we all have in our daily lives. Everything we do and touch has to do with technology, and there's a vulnerability there. So we're taking all the steps we can to build the resilient system to fight back.
Okay, we'll take a couple off topics. This is one for the mayor. Going back